No credible signs of where this plane might be, and searchers have been looking for debris. But what if the plane didn't even break apart? CNN aviation correspondent Richard Quest says that the lack of debris suggests it might be possible that the plane hit the water and stayed somewhat intact.
The lack of debris on the surface either means they are completely in the wrong area, or the plane entered the water and remained substantially intact.
CNN correspondent Martin Savage and pilot Mitchell Casado join me now live inside that flight simulator in Canada. So what are the thoughts, guys, between you two with what Richard had to say?
Yeah, we've actually talked about this, Mitchell and I, and it is quite possible for a plane to at least get down near the water. It's those last final feet. But let's show you a way that this might happen. We'll set it up here so that the aircraft, we're going to shut the engines down. It's simulating, in essence, the engines running out of fuel. And we want to show you something that's rather interesting. It's the way the aircraft is engineered, because for this scenario, the engines are spooling down, meaning there's no way to gain altitude. You have to go down. We've taken the autopilot off, right?
Yeah.
And so just give us an indication that we know we're no longer going up.
Well, we know the engines are dying here because we can see it on the display. Everything here is rolling back. All these numbers are decreasing, which means the engines are basically dying. And soon enough, they'll stop completely, and we'll just be in a glide toward the water.
So it's the glide part we're talking about here, Kira. And that's already warning us we're getting down to around 2,500 feet. But notice, without doing anything, we're not touching any of the controls. Mitchell does not have the autopilot on. This plane is level, it's steady, and it is descending. What's the rate of descent?
We're descending at about 2,000 feet per minute.
And that's the way this plane was engineered. In other words, even with no one at the controls, with the autopilot off, it is meant to fly level, and it is meant to descend gradually as best it can with a nose-up attitude. But here's the issue. What happens when we get down to the water?
When you get down to the water, you're going to want somebody in control, because the plane should be as slow as possible. You want to be putting some flaps down. And go ahead and pause it for me, just so we don't hit.
We're going to hit the water if we don't do this. So you want to make sure that you don't have the landing gear down. Of course, you want to be landing this plane in the water.
Right.
For it to just glide into the water, it doesn't work. Why?
No, because the wind is going to affect it. It's going to throw it off balance a little bit, and then if you get a wind kip hitting the water, it's going to slew in. So you want to be nice and level, maybe some flap, reduce the angle of incidence, which is the body angle versus the water, slow as possible, level as possible on top of that swell. That takes a hand.
But if that were done, as we've already seen with the Miracle on the Hudson, Kira, you can have an airplane that survives intact.
Put
even
it
with
in
people on board. But again, we have no idea if that really happened.
So you guys were saying 2,000 feet per minute, right?
Yeah, roughly.
Okay.
That's the problem. When you hit the water, that's too severe.
Okay, so that is too severe, and there's no way you can have a soft landing and that plane not break apart if you're talking 2,000 feet per minute.
Yes. Right, but if you have someone at the controls who would have, of course, leveled it off, eased it back, slowed that descent once you got down towards the level, or got down to the water, in theory, this plane could be set down in relatively good shape.
Wow.
You have an 88% chance of surviving an aircraft water landing if you have your life vest on. You have a greater chance of dying in the water if you have someone at the controls who levels the plane, keeps it for a pilot who's flying it to the water.
Controlled landing, yeah.
Thanks for taking us inside the cockpit once again, guys. Martin Savage, Mitchell Casado, thanks so much.